today and gone tomorrow. So that was
Yeah.
definitely a very, very heavy load for me for many, many years, something that I actually had to get really like psychologically okay with, because it definitely, I would live in fear a lot, like somebody talking to my client, or, I would even make things up in my mind. It was awful. So that was an adjustment.
So let me ask you, given the work that you did, what did you find were some of the top 3 hacks that you leaned into to save you time and money and gain a competitive edge during those early days, or even in those late days, that you feel really helped you to be efficient, keep your sanity, whether it was time management or strategic?
Absolutely. So I really have to tell you that there are a few key things that have served me well, and I will not say that I always had it right. I learned this with time, but once I learned it, it really paid off in spades. But I'm going to start by first telling you that, because I'm going to tell you 3 things, but I want to tell you that something that has really helped me from a self-care standpoint and a hit the ground running standpoint is that, because I had a lot of people to take care of. I had, my children, my family, my clients, my employees. It was always that I had to do something to take care of me first in the day, because the rest of the day was going to be for everyone else. And I wanted to have the maximum amount of energy, that I just wanted to start the day like explosively. So I would commit every day to get up very early, and I would work out at 6 a.m. And that for me was definitely my little secret weapon from a health standpoint and an energy standpoint, because it made a huge difference. And then I was ready to give. And next I would tell you is that I was always a rainmaker. So I had a team of people, but I have always been the producer, and everyone else was, I would pass off, and then they were to go and manage and support. And so if, a business is a business if you make sales, right? And if you don't make sales, you don't have a business.
Right.
So I was the lifeblood of that. And so I always knew that the first thing I had to do as a rainmaker was to make my business development initiatives every day my number one priority, and the first thing that I did. So I pretty much hit the ground running with my reach outs, my calls, and I felt so accomplished. If I said it was going to be 1 hour or 3 hours or the full morning to noon, it was all about doing all my business development activity initially. And then, in order to so activity breeds results. So activity. So I would really commit to that. And I would stay with that schedule. And then I would feel like, okay, now I'll go do, because that was also the hardest stuff, in my opinion. It's even making those calls to people that you're kind of afraid to make a call to. And, so I always did that first. Secondly was, sometimes we get so busy just doing, and we think busy is productive, but sometimes it can be very counterproductive. You have to take time out to get off the hamster wheel and to really sit and get with your thoughts and think about your strategy, think about your market, think about what, am I really hitting the mark of what my market really needs? Am I communicating in a way that they understand it? My business is very complex and confusing. And sometimes we tend to overtalk, and people are like, they look at you with a gaze, because they're like, I'm not really sure what you're saying. And you're trying to sound smart, and yet you're missing your audience and things like that. So I think it's so important to sit back and really digest and think and strategize, because one incredible idea can be so productive that, 10 times the amount of hours you've spent just doing, and you're missing the boat. So it's a very efficient and productive, and a critically important thing is to carve out strategy setting time, because it definitely will pay off. And then I can't stress this enough. And boy, did I learn this through trial and error. Getting the right people on board in the right positions is golden. And to the contrary, hiring the wrong people can be death.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot tell you how pivotal it has been when I have hired people that have really just been such a key person to our success that it's like I don't know what I'd do without them, and they have really helped, catapult the company forward. And again, when I have made some very bad hiring decisions, the negative results are like it's residual. The loss of time, clearly compensation, your setback. It sucks the morale from your team, and sometimes even after you potentially have to let someone go, there's residual negativity that flows back from things that they can do, things they can post online. I mean, it's just so hire slow, thoughtfully, carefully. Really take the time to build your hiring strategy and finding the key people. And even if you have to pay a little bit more, think big, because it's those people that are so good at what they do and valuable that can make your company, the ROI on that in terms of revenue can be astounding. So that, I would say, is something I have definitely learned along the way.
Those are super good points, and I would echo the hamster wheel point that I do feel for, especially for small business owners who are revenue flowing, that it's important to work on your business, not just in your business. To quote my friend Priscilla McKinney. So let me ask you one last question before we wrap up, because unfortunately we're running out of time. If there was one thing that you could share with our entrepreneur audience, a piece of advice that you wish someone had given you when you were starting out, that you'd like to share with them, what would it be?
A piece of advice starting out. Well, I mean, if it's not something that I just mentioned, like the hiring thing, I would probably say that there still is having a balance is extremely important, because we get so sucked into what we're trying to create, and we get so blindsided on everything else. And I really believe that in order to be the best that you could be in your business and have the energy that you need to have and have the right mental space, you definitely have to allow yourself time to recharge, to recalibrate, to spend time with people that you love and that are important, because that recharges you. And it just gives you that much more fuel and brain power and energy, physically, mentally, to be able to really do what you do well and love what you do. And so that, I think, is and enjoy your life while you're creating something that you want to be proud of.
Well, that's beautiful. Thank you. And so right on. Well, thank you, Beverly. Unfortunately, our time is up. Thank you for being on Startup Hacks. Your advice and your recommendations are excellent, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to be benefiting from them. If someone would like to follow you or follow up in any way, do you want to share a website or a LinkedIn address?
Yes. Well, my website still is seldonbeattie.com. My LinkedIn address is, you can find me, Beverly Beatie, on LinkedIn. And I think if you Google Beverly Beatie, Seldon Beattie, you will definitely find me on Google and on the internet and on LinkedIn.
Thank you. And congratulations again on the sale of your business.
Thank you, Fernanda. It's been a pleasure spending this afternoon with you.
Thank you. So thank you again. Tune in next week for another episode of Startup Hacks, where we get to explore another founder's journey and their secrets to success. We'll see you next week. Thank you for joining Startup Hack. Tune in next week for more interviews. We have another great show you won't want to miss on the secret female founder strategies that can save you time and money when building your business. This podcast is brought to you by Women Entrepreneurs Global, the first startup studio and digital do-it-yourself startup platform for women. For more information on our guests, this podcast, and many other female founder programs, please visit womenentrepreneurs.global. I'm your host, Fernanda Carapina. See you next week.